You are the main character in your own life, and sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we are so busy taking care of other people or other things that we tend to neglect ourselves, that we put the things that are most important to us on the back burner, that we forget to give ourselves time to be present, to be mindful, and even just to enjoy the things that we love, even while we're doing them. Being the main character in your life means you get to really, fully, truly experience your life. Sometimes when I feel completely overwhelmed or oppressed by circumstances that I can't control, I have to remind myself that this is my life and I am the main character in it. And for some reason, just reminding myself of that changes my entire perspective, changes my mood, and reminds me of the things that I love about being in this life of mine. We've been talking a lot about romanticizing life, and not just we, you and I, but just we, people. A lot of people are big fans of romanticizing life in general, and some people are very critical about it. They feel like it's escapism or it's something that only people who live in the lap of luxury can do. And they visualize it as though it's just spending your day reading novels, dressed in pinafores and prancing around the forest and what have you, and which is also beautiful. I think that's lovely. If you can do that, you should definitely spend your time doing that if you can and enjoy doing that. But for me, as I have talked about a little bit before, I think that there are ways to do it not only to improve your day-to-day quality of life by being more conscious of how you want it to look and how you want it to feel. Because I do think that it brings your attention to things that we forget about. We're so busy getting through the day-to-day life and we don't actually pay attention to the little things that really make all the difference in the world, as tiny as they might be. And I talked about this a lot in the last video, I think. Last video or the one before, and also in the magazine that went out for Valentine's Day, the Sweet Vegan Spills the Tea magazine. And the thing is that sometimes we're just so busy getting through our day that we forget that there are things that we really love to do or love to surround ourselves with, or a feeling that we're missing. So for me, romanticizing your life doesn't mean creating something that doesn't exist or making up a fantasy or escaping, as some critics like to call it. For me, it's really about resurfacing things that we have forgotten about, or bringing things to light that we have not been paying attention to. And it really can be something as simple as how our space makes us feel, just our physical space. Or, yeah, I think romanticizing your life is a beautiful thing, because not only does it just automatically make you feel better, it also makes you more present, I think, or you need to be more present in order to do it. I think that it helps you to take moments where you truly appreciate, are grateful for, and enjoy the small things in life that we often just take for granted. And to me, that's always a good thing. And in addition, not that productivity is always the goal, but in addition to helping you to be more mindful and more present, I think you can take it further. I think you can use it to help you make healthier choices and create healthier habits, because by romanticizing those things, you automatically make them seductive and enticing and inviting instead of feeling like as much of a chore. So for example, if you are having a hard time getting motivated to make healthy meals, if you are making meals from food that you actually find visually and aesthetically pleasing, if you find them beautiful and exciting and interesting looking, you're more likely to want to cook with them and eat them. And if the space that you're cooking in is organized and has the tools that you need in it to effectively and enjoyably cook, you're going to be a lot more likely to do that than if your kitchen is a disaster and you don't have the tools that you need. And if you're having trouble, I don't know, exercising, for example, maybe in the space in your house where you exercise, you can decorate that area in a way that will make it feel more fun. If you can visualize, who do I want to be when I'm exercising? How do I want to feel? And what do I need around me to make that feeling happen? And I'm not talking about like $3,000 exercise equipment. I'm just talking about simple things like a fresh coat of paint, or putting up photographs of people who inspire you and remind you why you're working towards this level of health or fitness, or any other kind of imagery that might remind you why you're doing this, or how far you've come, or what you're working towards. You know, when you're on vacation, sometimes you adopt new habits and new little rituals and things that you notice that they do there, or foods that they eat a lot there, that you're like, oh yeah, we should do that. We should definitely do that more when we get home. I feel like that's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like you're romanticizing it because you're there having this beautiful experience in a way that you're actually open to it, because you're on vacation, you're present and you're open and you're taking it in. I always do that when I travel. I always come home with like a new little routine or something that I think is just like so beautiful. Sometimes I forget about it. Some of them I still do. When I was in Spain, I noticed that everybody there would really stop to eat, like stop working and not eat on the go. And I was talking to someone from there, and he was saying how crazy he thinks North American people are for eating on the run and working through their meals and stuff, and that it's just so unhealthy and antisocial and wrong. And so when I came home for a while, I became very mindful about that and was like, no, even for lunch, sit down, disconnect from everything else, and just be very present and eat slowly. And that's a habit I definitely lost. I'm terrible for that now. I often eat lunch while I'm working, which I have to get back out of the habit of doing. And when we were in Greece a few years ago, it was a lot about the food, the lifestyle as well, but definitely the food. And we were worried that we wouldn't find vegan food while we were there, but there was tons. We found all kinds of dishes that are traditionally eaten there that have no animal products in them at all. And some of the restaurants that we went to were very accommodating about if there were dishes that we wanted to have them veganized. They were really, really sweet about it. And when we got home, I invited my kids over for dinner and made a huge feast of all of the dishes that we loved the most while we were there. We still eat them often, but I feel like it's all kind of in that same theme, you know? Romanticizing your life, to me, is just reminding yourself of the beauty that's in it and making sure that you don't take that for granted, and that you surround yourself with the things that help you to be more present and mindful and happy. One thing I definitely did not find when we were in Greece was vegan calamari, but I did find a lot of recipes when we got home online. So the one that I like to make is made out of king oyster mushrooms. It doesn't taste exactly like calamari, but there's an almost similar texture to the mushroom, and it definitely gives you that feeling like it scratches that itch, I guess, is what you would say. That's what people say. I actually think that sounds really gross, but you know what I'm trying to say. When I'm craving calamari, this does the trick. So you take some olive oil and some lemon juice and a sprinkle of salt, and that's going to be your marinade for the mushrooms. And then you take king oyster mushrooms. Make sure they're really big ones, not the little tiny ones, or else when you try and make them into rings, they'll probably break. You cut the tops off the mushroom and then take either a really pointy knife or an apple core or something like that, and then you cut out the middle so that you're making little rings. Of course, it's not necessary. It's just, if you really want to have as close to that calamari experience as possible, then you make rings. It's fun, it's cute. Anyway, and then you save the tops, of course, and the middles, and use that in your stir fry tomorrow. Once you cut the middles out of your mushroom slices, oh, and by the way, don't slice them too thin or they will burn in the oven or be too tough and dry. Anyways, once you have sliced your mushrooms and cut the middles out, you are going to put them in your marinade and make sure that they are really well coated and let them sit for at least half an hour or an hour. I think that's about how long I did it. I didn't leave them overnight, although you could try that. I don't know what the results will be. Let me know if you try it. And then you make a mixture of breadcrumbs or panko with some dried Mediterranean herbs like oregano and parsley and marjoram and all that good stuff. And you add some granulated garlic and freshly ground pepper and mix that all together. Once your mushroom slices have marinated long enough, you can then dip them in the panko mixture and make sure they're really well coated. Push them down if it's not sticking very well. And then you put that on a parchment covered cookie sheet and bake it in a 425-degree oven for about 10 minutes or until they're getting really golden brown. Flip them over for maybe another 5 minutes. It's going to depend on the thickness and freshness of your mushrooms, of course. And that's it. We eat ours with Greek salad and often a lemon garlic baked tofu, and of course a vegan tzatziki from one of my favorite vegan restaurants in Montreal called Au Vive. If you try this recipe out, please let me know how it went and if you enjoyed it in the comments below. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. As always, I appreciate it so very much. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, thank you so much for believing in the work that I'm doing and for contributing to it and helping to make this channel possible. If you would like to work one-on-one with me for naturopathy or nutrition, you will find the booking link in the description below. I will see you next week. Take really, really good care of yourselves. Bye.